Okay.
You're a brave man going live, though. You know.
So, well, we're live now, so I guess I'm going to share my secret with everybody. But
uh,
so let me tell you why I like doing these lives.
yeah.
One second, I'm just going to make sure that we are live. Let me see.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, we are.
It
Yeah. So
says
we got.
live up in the top left.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. So one of the reasons. So obviously, I have a YouTube channel that started off like before I started doing videos where I'm either like rebuttaling, provisionism or talking about theology or something.
Sure.
I was doing music, and that was kind of my focus and my goal was
Yeah.
I was going to pursue a music career
Uh,
because I also produce music,
okay.
like on programs and beats and stuff. And
Really?
yeah, my wife actually is an amazing singer, like R&B,
I
gospel.
saw one of the videos. Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, hats off.
she's amazing.
She's got an angelic voice.
Yeah, yes, the Lord really blessed her, and we got somebody here. Hey, Sola Scriptura, how are you, man? And so we really are like a musical, family, and so what I wanted to do is I wanted to do music. So like if you go down my YouTube channel,
Right.
like towards the bottom, you'll see a lot of like music stuff. But then I stopped,
Mm-hmm.
and God really changed my direction.
Mm-hmm.
So I still do music with my wife, and like we still
Mm-hmm.
have plans to produce music. And um wait, are you rewrite that slow scripture? I don't know what that means, but oh, Anthony, are you Anthony? No, I'm not Anthony, and he's not Anthony. He's Austin.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
he's Austin. I don't know, Anthony, buddy. Sorry. But yeah, so then the Lord changed my direction, and we'll get into that. But let me just do a little introduction here. All right, everyone. Well, everyone who's here so far, Oz, you're in the chat. Okay, my friend Oz is here. Austin, the guy I briefly mentioned to you about. All right, everyone. I'm really excited because I have Austin Brown here with me. This was it was not last minute, but we planned this. I reached out to Austin, and a lot of you may not know, but Austin and I are going to debate here in a couple of weeks, like a week and a half or 2 weeks. We're going to debate on the topic of limited atonement, definite atonement. I'll let Austin explain, his position, his view, but we're going to be debating. But I didn't want to just show up cold turkey and not know who I'm debating. I wanted to know who Austin, who he is, and his upbringing, and really bring a friendly conversation before we go head to head, as it were.
Yeah.
And from everything I've seen so far, Austin is a great guy. Very funny, very down to earth. I'm reading your book, and very cheeky.
Yeah. It is very
Which
cheeky.
I'm like that too. Honestly, I'm like that too. So,
I mean,
um,
theology doesn't have to be dry, right? It can be fun.
yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah. So we were talking a little bit about the singing. Just real quick though, do you have any munchkins? Do you have any kids?
Oh, I was like, yes. I was like munchkins, like food,
Yeah.
like the little.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
Um, yes, I agree with you. Sola Scriptura. Limited atonement is biblical. I love that. Yes, I do. I have four. I have four little munchkins.
Okay.
Yeah, 12, 10, 6, and 2.
Oh
No,
boy,
6 and 4. 6 and
you
4.
got your
Sorry, 6 and
hands
4. Yeah.
full, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow,
How
good
about
for you.
how about you?
3, 2 boys and a girl. Let's see, that's like.
Hey, Austin, something happened. Can you hear me? Something happened
Yeah,
to your mic.
yeah, I can hear. Yeah,
I can't hear you anymore.
Uh-oh.
Do you guys hear Austin?
Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Testing. 1 2
I hear
3.
you. I hear you now.
Oh.
I hear you now. Yeah. I think it was on my side. I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any kids?
Yeah, 3 kids, 2 boys and a girl. Let's see, what are their ages? 20. What is it? 23, 21, and then 14. So.
Wow. You said 2 boys and 1 girl?
Yeah, the girl's still at home, the 14-year-old.
Okay, yeah. So we have 1 girl and 3 boys. Okay. And the girl is the girl. Huh?
Protestant perspective. Yes. Thank you.
Yes. So that's Oz, and we're gonna get to him in a sec because I have a bone pick with him. I told him I would shout him out in our debate like 5 times. So That's awesome. Yeah. So we have one girl. She's the oldest, and three boys.
Yeah.
And they keep me busy. Apart from everything else that we're doing,
Yeah.
they keep me busy. But they're a blessing from the Lord, and
Yeah.
we're just very blessed to have them. So let's. I want my the audience here and I myself want to learn a little bit about you. So
Sure.
let me just ask you some questions.
Yeah. Fire away.
I know you're reformed
Yes.
from the interviews I've seen.
Yes.
Did you grow up reformed or did you
No.
grow up? No? Okay.
So until about the age of 11, it was
Hmm.
just your good old fashioned American pagan home. Like my parents were decent people, but not Christians. And then when my aunt, she got cancer, she was on her deathbed. A pastor came and gave her the gospel. She believed in Christ and she was in tears and says, "I know where I'm going." She died shortly thereafter. And that got my parents thinking. And so actually, my mother took me to church for a while. And to make a long story short, we ended up in Assemblies of God for a little while,
Okay.
but a few years. And then after that, it was the Christian and Missionary Alliance. I was about 16 when I was in that. And I
Mm.
was there for quite a while. And I actually married the pastor's daughter. So at, at that church. So
Okay.
yeah. And then, but, and I was on the precipice of getting ordained in the CNMA, the Christian and Missionary Alliance. And I just was, and my father-in-law, who was my pastor, kept giving me books to read like Charles Hodge and John Calvin and Cornelius Van Til. And I just found them extremely persuasive, especially I was wrestling with Roman Catholicism big time. Like I wouldn't say I was really close to converting, but I was torn up inside with
Hmm.
some of their claims, their authority
Sure.
claims and things like that. And so yeah, in my late 20s, I went full reformed. I went Presbyterian, and those are the circles I've been running in since, and I'm 48 now.
48. That's awesome. What I did not expect that when I saw your interviews. I don't know why, but I thought you grew up the way you spoke about
Mm,
Reformed theology
mm,
and the way Charles Hodge, Calvin, and
mhm.
all these guys that you were
Yeah,
mentioning in
yeah,
your interviews. I thought you grew up Reformed. I thought like that was your circle. That's where you've been. So I found it interesting that you actually did not grow up Reformed, but the Lord brought you here, and I think you're in the right place.
yeah, yeah.
I
So I
think you're in
was
the
in,
right circle.
and even just to break it down a little bit, so I was in the RPCNA. Have you ever heard of that? The RPCNA,
Reformed Presbyterian
Church of North America.
Church of North America, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
their kind of distinctive is
Hmm.
they only sing psalms without instruments, for worship. Now obviously that's not my conviction, but when you're in the
Right.
cornfields of Indiana, which is where I was living at that time, your options for reform communities are pretty stinking small. So that was the nearest one, and it was like 35 minutes away. And so I was there for like 10 years. And then we came to Florida, where I'm at now in Pensacola, and I was in the PCA for a while. And now I'm in a good church in the CREC. And so
Okay.
that's kind of my pedigree. But enough about me. What? Or go ahead. You looks like you have a
Well, I
question.
was gonna ask. Yeah, I was gonna ask. CREC. What does that stand for?
The Communion of Reformed Evangelical Churches. It's very much associated with like Douglas Wilson and things like that. And I
Okay.
know there's a lot of controversy surrounding the CREC, and
Yes, CREC. Yes, yes, definitely.
yes, there's a lot of
Yeah.
post mill bros there, right? Like and things like
Yes.
that. I'm not post
Yes.
mill, but look, let's just mature. Maturity dictates sometimes where you go. Like, would you rather be in a really weak, let's just say, a really weak, frozen, chosen Reformed Baptist church? Or would you rather be in a healthy, holy, loving congregation that maybe doesn't fit you perfectly, right? But it's a good group of people. That's kind of my situation. I mean, a city only provides you so many options. So I'm not downing the CREC. It's just not, there are some theological distinctives there that, maybe are a little uh, out of my comfort zone a little bit, just a little bit.
Yeah. No, that actually makes a lot of sense. Actually, my family and I, my wife, my kids and I, we actually have been in that same boat where we're trying to figure out, you know, what church, like you said, what church best fit? Is it
Yeah.
something that, like you said, frozen chosen type, or is
Yeah.
it
Right.
maybe they're a little bit more not so in line theologically, but it's more of what we need right now, kind of thing. I mean, they're not
Exactly.
far off.
Like, do you see
Yeah,
holiness? Do you see love? Is it sound preaching? Is the worship sensible or silly? Right. Like,
right.
and that's in the church I'm in right now. I can trust the leaders. The liturgy is rich and robust, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I just want to be very clear that I'm not putting it down. There are all kinds of flavors in the denomination, and the CREC has a certain kind of fight feast mentality that may be off-putting to some people, and it's not for everybody, but that's okay.
Yeah. So would you say the main thrust that threw you into Reformed theology was the readers, these intelligent authors and individuals,
Yeah.
whether it was their persuasion or whether they threw you to the Bible and said, okay, I need to go and check this and
Yes.
see if any of this is true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's how it yes, and initially it was just the seriousness and the analytical thinking and the rich exegesis. It was the I'm not leaving any stone unturned kind of feeling. Like, I felt like if I could go to Jonathan Edwards and Charles Hodge and Turretin, right, like if you go to those guys, you're getting meat, and I like that. Now, I will say, after having been in reform circles for a long time now, there are strengths and weaknesses to every group. And I feel like I've experienced the strengths, and I've certainly experienced the weaknesses. And so at this point in my life, I think it'd probably be fair to say that I'm very comfortable. I'm comfortable in Presbyterian circles. I think I could be very comfortable in Lutheran circles. And I think I could be very comfortable in Anglican circles too. Like, I don't, and actually Reformed Baptists, like some of my greatest heroes, like John Piper, D.A. Carson. I love Gavin Ortland. He's
Yeah.
amazing right now. So
Yeah.
some of my heroes of the faith are Reformed Baptists. It's just whether or not they would accept me being a Paedo Baptist guy. I would be
Right.
happy to swim in those waters, but sometimes they wouldn't let me swim in their waters.
Yeah, our friend Lucas, he asked me one time. He said, "Are you Presbyterian?" And I said, "Well, it depends on the day. Monday through Wednesday, probably. Towards the end, maybe Reformed Baptist. Towards the
Yeah.
end of the week."
Oh,
So
so you're on the fence then?
yeah, me too, me too. I am. I mean, you know, it's interesting because I feel like the things that separate Reformed Baptists from Presbyterians aren't that big,
Right,
but
right,
at the same time, they are that big. If that makes sense,
right.
like
Yeah, absolutely.
you know it's like we agree on the big things, even the controversial things, election, irresistible grace, all of that stuff.
Right,
But it's the sacrament, or the infant baptism, these things that I don't want to say that they're small, but
right,
I
right,
feel
right.
like in regards to everything we hold in common, they don't seem as big.
Yeah,
And
well,
so
and
yeah.
I'm sorry. We have just a slight lag. If I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that's one thing I like about the CRAC is that it's a denomination that allows Reformed Baptists, Anglicans, and Presbyterians to all function together under one umbrella, which is nice. As long
Yeah.
as you hold to the 39 Articles or the London Baptist Confession or the Westminster or the Three Forms of Unity, you can be in. And I like that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's very includes everybody. I mean, because
Yes.
again, we really are, I mean, I trust me, as somebody who is I consider myself very hard on doctrine. Like, I stand
Mhm.
where I stand,
Right.
and I will defend it.
Right.
But at the same time, sometimes I'm like, these things aren't, are they so controversial that we can't even
Right.
hold church together? You know what I mean? Like,
So did you baptize your children as infants or no?
no, because so let me tell you a little bit of my story.
Yes, let
So
me hear it.
we actually, so I didn't actually step into Reformed theology until 2 years ago, or maybe coming up 3 years, three
Okay.
years ago. Um, my wife and I, we've known each other for 20 plus years.
Okay.
We've been married for 14, but we've known each other before that. And we grew up Pentecostal,
Yeah.
charismatic. So, we, a lot of like experiences and heavy on
Right.
prayer, heavy on,
Sure.
those things.
Right.
But the word of God, like, we know it's there, and the
Right.
pastor would use it to kind of, springboard to the
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
a,
Yeah.
you know
Right. Right. Right.
so like
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
no,
No, I get it. I get it.
so it was revered, but it wasn't it wasn't anything that's really like, yeah, you got to read it, you got to
Right.
read it, because I mean, if you want to know something, you just go to the prophet, or the whoever is there to speak a word, or you ask God and He'll speak it to you,
Right.
and that's a whole different subject. But
Hmm.
so we grew up in that environment, and so I always tell people it's so interesting to say this, but as a Christian, I would consider myself a Christian. I was not reading my Bible, and that sounds contradictory to me.
Mm.
Like, how, as a Christian,
Mm.
could you be avoiding the one thing that you should be doing every day, like water and bread, and feeding yourself, but I just didn't read the scriptures. And if I did read the scriptures, or if I knew any scriptures, it was like the famous passages, Jeremiah 29:11. I know the plans I have for you, says the
Right.
Lord.
Sure. Right. Right.
so so that's kind of my upbringing. And in my upbringing, I struggled a lot with my faith, with sin and things like that. I don't want to say that I'm perfect now, but um, Christians struggle with sin. It,
Well, sure.
it,
Yeah.
it felt like when I was growing up, there were times where I wasn't struggling, if that makes sense.
Oh,
It was more like,
right. 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 Right.
yeah,
Right.
it
Right.
wasn't. I
Right.
wasn't struggling,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and so it was just very weird. Did I just freeze up?
You did. You
Yeah,
have a
I
nice
look
smile
funny.
going there.
Yeah, I look funny. I don't know what happened. Hold on. Let me turn
Okay.
this on.
Is
Oh,
there a
hold on.
way to flick it?
Yeah, yeah, hold on. Let me see. Oh no. Hold on. Oh, I look too funny.
What do we got here in the comments? Oh, hey. Hopefully he comes back. So I take it Arlene Escobar is your wife.
How did you? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you,
Okay.
but I can't see
Okay.
you.
Okay. Cool. Okay. How did you know that?
I'm going to take a wild guess.
Wild guess, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So until my video comes back, I don't know what happened. Let me just keep talking. As long as they see you, that's fine.
Yeah.
Um. So we grew up in that environment,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
3 years
lost him.
ago, almost 3 years ago, I was in my room and I was listening to a message. I was on YouTube,
Uh-huh.
and this message came up that caught my attention from Paul Washer. I never had heard of Paul Washer.
Yeah,
I'm,
okay.
I'm
Uh-huh.
sure I'm sure you know Paul. Okay, I never have heard of Paul Washer,
Yeah.
and it was his famous um what's it called? That famous message he preached when he was young, and it was like to a crowd of teenagers. It was the one where he says,
Uh,
"Why are you clapping? I'm talking about you." Have you heard that
oh, yeah,
phrase?
yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Yes,
yeah,
yes, yes.
yeah, yeah. So
Actually, I know that from I think watching one of your videos. I think you told this. You
yes,
told
yeah,
that. Yes.
yeah, I think, yeah. So something happened that night,
Mm-hmm.
that honestly I can't explain, but it really brought me to tears, just
Hmm.
hearing him preach. I
Mm-hmm.
never had heard anything like that. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
And
Right.
and then literally the next day, I woke up and something had happened to where I felt like I was lacking something, and it was the word of God. And all of a
Mm,
sudden, again, it's unexplainable. It almost sounds like one of those stories, like it's too good to be true.
mm,
All of a sudden, I begin to consume the word of God. Like, I just
mm.
can't get enough
You just have
of
this
God. And
hunger, right?
yes, yes, exactly right, exactly.
Mhm. Uh-oh, we lost him.
Yeah, I'm trying to go back and forth to see if I can fix this. I don't know
Is
what
it
happened.
somehow something on my end, do you think, or is it just
No, I think it's me. I think it's
okay?
just me.
'Cause,
Hold,
I
oh,
checked
you
my
know what?
internet connection earlier, and it was very strong.
Yeah, no, no, it's not you. Okay, can you see that?
I
Can you see
can
that
see
image?
that,
Okay, you can
yes.
see that image? Okay.
Now you're an avatar.
Yeah, this has never happened to me before, so I have no idea.
Which I
But
feel like
honestly,
I wonder if it's something on my end. Huh.
it's saying that, hold on.
Like, is there
It
any chance that if my internet were somehow slow, it could mess yours up? I don't know. That didn't seem to make sense.
No, I don't think no, that wouldn't make sense because that's on my internet. So yeah, I'm not sure, but I mean, I don't know how many people actually want to see my face today. They maybe just want to hear my voice.
I mean, it's, you're coming through clear.
Okay, yeah, yeah. I
Okay,
think
so
something. Yeah.
you listen to Paul Washer. It creates a hunger for God's word. Now you're still at that point running around in Pentecostal circles, correct?
Yes, yes. So I have this hunger for God's word, and I listen to Paul Washer again. I begin to listen to him, and then YouTube algorithm, how that goes. It starts sending me other preachers I've never heard about, like R.C.
Mhm.
Sproul
Right, right,
and John Piper
right.
and all these individuals, and I start listening to these individuals,
Yeah.
and I'm going, what is this?
Mm,
Like they're taking the word of God and they're
mm,
preaching it.
mhm.
This isn't anything of, I'm not hearing the old, God's going to give you your dreams and
Right.
like like
Right,
nothing like
right,
that.
right, right.
I'm
Yeah,
I'm I'm hearing like
yeah.
Christology and holiness and
Right,
righteousness,
right.
and I'm like, what in the world? And so I began to read the Bible, and eventually, so let me get to the tulip part, right? Eventually I got to tulip. I
Yeah.
got to, I had never in my whole Christian upbringing.
And just to be clear, this is like 2020-ish or earlier?
Yeah, 2021,
Okay,
2021.
so this is
So
all going on
recently.
during COVID then?
Yeah, yes, because we had moved back to Maryland. Yes, 2021. Yeah, about
Okay,
21.
interesting.
Um, no, Oz, it's not Austin. No, it's not. It's probably my camera call. We're gonna get to Oz in a little bit, but so yeah, so I start reading, and then
Mhm.
I hear this message on election and
Yeah,
predestination,
yeah,
terms I had never heard before. I didn't even know the
yeah.
Bible spoke of these terms.
Right?
So this begins to take me down this hole,
Mhm.
and I begin to read and I begin to study, and
Right,
then I begin to listen to those who are Arminians, which is a
right.
term I didn't know at the time, or Calvinist,
Sure,
and
right.
I begin to listen to a whole bunch of people that I had never heard before,
Mhm.
and election and predestination were so I kept hearing so many voices, and
Mm.
I like sometimes I would even go to I would lay down in my bed and I would still have thoughts on my head about these topics.
Right,
I'd be going through passages. I'd be going through what R.C. Sproul said, or what
right,
you
right.
know what this Arminian said, and
Yeah,
and
oh,
it got
yeah.
it, it got to the point where I
I
needed
know
to
the
know.
drill.
Yeah, yeah. So it got to the point where I needed to know what was correct,
Right.
and I needed to know that if I was going to stand on a position, I needed to be able to defend it. Not
Right,
because R.C. Sproul said, or because this guy said, or that guy said, but
right,
because I knew for a fact that the Bible actually taught this.
right.
So that took me on a journey. I read from Genesis to Revelation. For the first time, I read the whole Bible, front to
Mhm.
back.
Wow.
And I took obviously it took time. I didn't, it took some
Yeah, it's
time,
right,
but but I,
right. Not
but I
over a
read,
week.
yeah, yeah, but I read it, and as I was reading, I took a I want to make a video on this actually. I took an orange pen, which,
Okay.
like, if my video was working,
Oh, oh,
I
oh.
I would I would
I know
show
what
it
you're
to
gonna
you.
say. Yeah.
So I took an orange pen, and I just highlighted, terms about election, predestination,
Right.
love, God's sovereignty.
Yep.
And by the
Mhm.
time I finished the Bible, literally, like, every other page had orange on it. Like, it was just,
Right.
and you go to Isaiah, towards the
Yep.
end of Isaiah, it's just orange, 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 everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's really what led me to, okay, Reformed theology is where I'm going to put my hat in. I'm going to become Reformed, adopt tulip,
Mhm.
covenant theology.
Right.
And ever since then, man, I've continued to. I'm going through my second Bible. So, like, every time I finish one, I get a new Bible, and
Oh,
going through my
that's cool.
second Bible. I'm taking a lot of, like, online free courses. I'm consistently learning. Like, my job allows me to have headphones on,
Oh, there you
so I'm
go.
like I'm
There we
listening to
go.
messages, or yeah, so I'm listening to a whole bunch of things, and
Mailman, I have lots of time to listen. So yes, this is great.
yeah. So, that's kind of been my journey, and ever since then, this is where I've been.
Yeah.
And what was funny was uh, Calvinism and Reformed theology was it was just so weird to me. I was like, there's no way this can be right. There's no
Mm,
way this
right.
can be right. So I actually joined a Facebook group where
Oh
it,
no.
it, it, it was specifically
Oh no.
targeted towards Calvinists.
Oh no.
Like, yeah, yeah, yeah.
This sounds like a dumpster fire.
Yeah. So I joined a group that was specifically against Calvinism.
Oh boy.
And
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
joined the group because I wanted someone to kick me off Calvinism. Like let me
Oh,
hear
okay.
you.
So
Let me
you were going in like, okay, get me out of here, right?
Yes, bring your best arguments
Okay.
for total depravity,
Yeah. Yeah.
election,
Yeah.
whatever. And I was there for a couple of months, and then I just realized, you're like, no, nobody, the best arguments are either emotional or eisegesis, or, it just didn't convince me.
Okay.
I felt
Right.
strongly convicted that the
Right.
Bible does teach these things.
Hmm.
Limited atonement, which is a topic we're gonna debate,
Right.
being one of them. And I kind of want to transition a little bit here because
Right.
I never actually heard of HU.
Uh-huh.
You and Oz, my friend Oz, if he's still on here,
Yeah.
you two were the first ones that presented HU. I didn't even know that was an option.
Right.
Especially within the reform camp.
Right.
Like I had never heard of HU, and I was like, what in the world is HU?
Yeah.
Like I've heard,
Which is
yeah.
such an unfortunate combination of words. I hate that title, by the way. It's so confusing and weird.
What
But
title do you prefer?
I just would say that I hold to universal satisfaction.
Okay.
Because if you say hypothetical universalism, like what do most people are going to go, well, what do you mean by hypothetical and universalism? That most people associate that with everybody's going to be saved, right? Universalists. So
Mhm.
I just find it such an unfortunate such unfortunate terminology that occurred in history that has kind of become the label in many ways. It's like, oh, I just don't like it because it requires so much explanation for what it means. It's not helpful, in my opinion.
Yeah, my friend Oz agrees with you there. Protestant perspective agrees with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like one of those titles like total depravity, where you're like,
Right.
well, I have to really break down what total depravity means, because
Right. Because people are like, "Oh, you mean as bad as they could be? No, no, no. I just
yeah,
mean
yeah, no, right,
it affects the entire person, noetic effects, etc.
right,
Yeah.
right, right, right.
So,
Yeah,
so that's interesting. I mean, in my experience, most people in the reform camp aren't aware of these finer distinctions, especially these 17th century debates that were going on that did demarcate these different schools of thought. So yeah, I'm not at all surprised that you were surprised to find that out.
yeah, yeah. Again, I had no idea. And then once I don't know if I heard it from you first or from Oz, but one of you brought it up, and then so it's interesting. I have been preparing for a debate, okay,
Mhm.
but limited atonement was not the debate I was looking for,
Mhm.
and you were not the person I was looking for. Let me just tell you that.
What?
You were not the person I was looking for, and atonement was not the topic. I was ready to debate election, predestination,
Right, right.
sovereignty,
Sure.
like that's what and I had certain people in mind, certain camps in mind. I
Right.
never had in mind to debate another reformed person on the atonement, especially
Right.
one that I was not aware of. This was
Mm.
not it's going to be my first debate. I don't know if you've ever had debates or not.
I mean, not, and I've never done a formal debate where it's like literally timed and there's an official
Right.
cross examination, but I've certainly had my fair share of, let's call it intense back and forths, right? Like,
Yeah.
and whatnot.
Okay, so I have those every day on Twitter.
Yeah.
On Twitter, I have those every day. But like a formal debate where it's two people presenting
Right.
and doing a cross. So this will be my first one.
Yeah.
And again, I never in my mind thought it'd be on the atonement.
Yeah.
And then never again, never would I thought against a reformed person, one who holds to, covenant theology,
Right.
confessional PT.
Yeah.
I was like, what in the world? How did this happen?
Yeah.
How did this?
So can I expand just a little bit on this idea of hypothetical universalism, just so because it is
Yes,
such an
please.
unfamiliar thing. So So if we imagine, like, obviously, and I think you would agree with this, that if somebody asks the question, did the church hold to limited satisfaction or universal satisfaction during the first 1500 years, I think most everybody is going to agree that the vast majority of the church held to universal satisfaction. But then you get to
Yeah.
the Protestant Reformation, and the early reformers, almost all of them to a man, would have held to universal satisfaction as well, and appealed to something like the Lombardian formula. And if somebody
Hmm.
doesn't know what that is, that's just that Christ is death is sufficient for all, but efficient for the elect. He was a medieval scholar,
Hmm.
teacher, and he popularized that. But so then Arminianism rises, and one of Calvin's proteges, Theodore Beza, is really, so far as I can tell, one of the first to really encapsulate this idea that Christ only died for the elect, i.e., limited satisfaction.
Hmm.
And that raised issues in the Reform community. And you had the French school. Okay, so the French, among them, you probably heard of a guy by the name of Maurice Amoreau, or Amyraldianism,
Yep.
right? So,
Yep.
so people who were opposing limited satisfaction would have, from the French camp, would have been, kind of called Amyraldians, the French still. But then you had the British. The British were often called the hypothetical universalists, right? And those were the delegates. So you have the Council of Dort in the early 17th century, and you had these British guys like Usher and Davenant and these different
Hmm.
respected figures who went there. And so you had that kind of a school of thought, which was a little different than the French school. But then obviously, so there's really four, I would say, 4 or 5 camps, and that is the early reformers who would hold to the Lombardian formula and affirm universal satisfaction. Then you have limited satisfaction, Beza, Owen, uh, Perkins, et cetera, down to James White and R.C. Sproul, right? You have all that.
You're
But
right.
then you
Right.
have this French school and you have the British school of, if you will, hypothetical universalism, if somebody wants to use that nomenclature. But, like I said, I'm not a fan. So there is quite a diversity, and all these things were being debated at Dort, and certainly at Westminster, and abroad. Like, obviously, for the last 500 years, basically amongst Reformed people, this has been a hot topic that usually involves clubs and spears and torches, and everything else.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. I'm gonna talk a little bit about my friend Oz, who's still here. Thank
Mm.
God he actually wrote. Did you see what he wrote there?
Yeah, I did. That's the
Peter
Lombardian.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So, we're a part of a great group of guys, reform guys, and we talk about all types of subjects. Covenant theology,
Mhm.
got foreknowledge, sovereignty, anything and everything, you name it.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I don't remember when, but he I guess one day just told us, like, he holds to the universal satisfaction, hypothetical universalism and stuff. And ever since then, he's been getting a lot of, back and forth with some of his, the same friends and people. I mean, in a kind way, not in a bad way, not
And
like
you're
they're,
talking about your friend Oz.
yeah, a Protestant perspective.
Yeah, yeah.
Protestant
Sorry,
perspective.
because I was reading his comment, I think, when you said the name. So okay, so Protestant perspective, Oz,
Yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah.
made made
He,
made the jump, and
right.
I'm kind of surprised to hear you say that he hasn't been club. Usually the Reformed community comes out pretty strong against its own, that kind of turn on this issue.
Well, Austin, I'm not gonna lie, him and I have had some strong back
Okay,
and
okay,
forth, but all in love.
sure.
I mean, no, it's not. It's definitely not something worth, like kicking him out or anything like that. First of all,
No,
I think he's the one that started the group, so he can't, unless he's gonna kick himself
right,
out.
right, right, right.
But no, it's just going back and forth as far as, like, okay, well, again, because this was new to a lot of us. So, like,
Yeah,
how do you deal with this, and, like, how do you view
right,
this, and
right.
he's actually been a great, debate partner, he's actually been a great debate prep partner, for you, because um even though I'm reading your book, and I'm reading a bunch of stuff right now, and I've
Yeah.
had many conversations with my friend Oz, it's still in my mind, and I don't know if it's just the way I work, because I'm like a logical thinker,
Right.
like you, like what drew me to reform was the
Right.
intellect.
Yes.
The intellect is next level stuff.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if it's my mind, the way it works, but it just doesn't, I can't seem to understand it, which is funny, because on Twitter, the other day, after I had a conversation with Protestant Perspective,
Hmm.
I tweeted, my friend Oz just showed me that I'm debating someone who is unbeatable, or a position that is unbeatable. Because when I present a strong, position for or a strong argument for limited atonement,
Right.
my friend Oz agrees with me. But then he also agrees with those who would disagree with me. And so I'm like,
Right.
how do
Right.
you how do you beat this thing? Because you agree here, but you also agree here. And so it was just a funny kind of joke
Right.
tweet, where it's like,
Yes.
because from your interviews, you still hold to election, predestination, irresistible grace,
Sure.
perseverance. Like you still hold to those things.
Hmm.
From the interviews I've seen from you, you still hold to them. But
Yes.
you also have this little thing here that, like you said, most reforms would be like, yeah, that's on more on the Arminian Lutheran kind of side,
Oh
at,
yeah.
at least at least that's how it would be posed. Because sometimes I'm talking to my friend Oz, and I'm like, did he just go from reform to now I feel like I'm debating an Arminian?
Well, so
like
so let me ask you a question. And I don't mean to put you on the spot,
no,
or
go
make
ahead,
you
go ahead.
uncomfortable at all. But have you read the Canons of Dort?
I have not. I have
Okay.
not read the Cantor. So that's another thing about my journey is,
Yeah.
I haven't read Calvin, which is, I know it's a huge thing when you get
Which
reform,
yeah, I
right?
mean, goodness,
Yeah.
nobody's read. I mean, he's got so much stuff. It's bonkers.
Well, I mean his institutes. I haven't read his institutes.
Okay, good.
Yes,
Which is
yes. I
still a
haven't read
lot.
his.
It's like,
Right. Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
stack.
It's a thick book. Yeah. I haven't read his institutes. I haven't read Territon, Owen. To be honest, I haven't read a lot of people, and one of the main
Well,
reasons
yeah,
was,
and that's okay. Yeah, I don't.
yeah,
I'm not saying this to make you feel bad. I'm merely saying because we're all. I mean, these issues are crock pots, not microwaves, right? It
okay,
takes
right,
a lot of time to just work through these issues. But what I would encourage you to do, and I would encourage everybody in the audience, you know
yeah,
what, because and here I'm saying this in reaction to something you said about, shoot, am I debating an Arminian, when you talk to Oz? And I've had this experience too so many times where somebody goes, you sound like a closet Arminian. And it's like, oh, hold on. And I want to ask them, well, have you read, just read, it takes, I mean, legitimately, it's like a few pages to read the second head of Dort, which is on the sacrifice of Christ, where it talks about um, the sacrifice of Christ and the Calvinist position. And I think it's a very interesting exercise, because nobody will find in that document anywhere where it says that the satisfaction that Christ paid was limited to the elect alone. Since it's a consensus document, they were very careful to formulate it to allow the Oz's and the Escobars of the world to sign on in good faith, both of them,
right.
in opposition to Arminianism.
Right, right. Yeah. And I just want to say something here.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I don't want my friend Oz here to think I'm calling him Armenian, because that's not what the intention was. I
No,
know
yeah.
he's reformed. I know he's reformed. He's in our group, and we still, but what I meant to say was that it's interesting in talking with, though, because more and more people I think are catching on to HU. You know,
Mhm,
Protestant Perspective, my friend Oz here is doing a very well job of presenting people, hey, there is this other option. Just look into it,
mhm.
read about it, and just see what the Bible says. And I
Right,
think that's great. That people should know every option that's
right.
out there, that's available, and to do the research for the Bible. It's not that in my mind I'm like, oh, he's an Arminian, but it's just funny because in one moment we're like, yes, we agree, and
Right,
then in the
right,
next, it's like the arguments begin to turn like, wait, I feel like I'm like Lucas. Lucas is a Methodist, and
right.
so he's an Arminian.
Sure.
And so some of the things, it feels like I feel like I would be debating Lucas or something, like. But I know Oz is very well covenantal. I
Right.
think PCA, Presbyterian. So, and I know you are too. So
Sure.
no,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not trying to throw shade or offense there.
No, no,
It's
no,
just
no.
it's
Not
just
none
this
taken at all.
position. This position is so interesting because it's neither here nor there, but it's both here and there. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Oh, yeah. Well, like, you
Yeah.
take like somebody like John Owen, and maybe a lot of people don't know this, but when John Owen wrote The Death of Death and the Death of Christ, which is considered,
Mm-hmm.
the book on limited atonement, most people don't realize that he and Richard Baxter, which Richard Baxter is a
It's a yeah, yeah, yeah.
highly
Uh,
respected name.
he
Those
wrote Pilgrim
two,
Progress.
oh, that was Bunyan. That was Bunyan.
Oh, I'm sorry, Richard Baxter. Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
he was kind of he wrote the books on preaching, and he was
On
just a very,
preaching, reform preaching. Yes, yes, yes.
yes. And a lot of people don't know that he wrote a book called A Universal Redemption in response to John
Yes.
Owen, and those two went back and forth ad infinitum. So it's just interesting that, you know these debates that you and like Oz are having, or I'm with whomever. I mean, these are nothing new. These have been going on in Reformdom for quite a while now, and I don't see any end to it even any time soon. I mean, the big book From Heaven He Came and Sought Her, that big honking one, defending limited atonement recently. I don't know if you've seen that book. It's kind of the modern definitive work right now for limited atonement.
Which one?
Um, From Heaven He Came and Sought Her.
Oh, you
It's
better believe I know that book. You better
yeah,
believe
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
in there, right?
Yeah. It's like 800 pages or something.
Yeah,
Well, they
yeah.
spend a lot of time in that book arguing against hypothetical
Hypothetically,
universalism.
yes, yes, I know.
Right. Ironically, right? Like, instead of arguing against Arminianism, they're arguing against their fellow Reformed, which is hilarious, right? It's just, the point is yes, this is an in-camp intramural debate that I would agree with Oz that I do think this is catching on more
Yeah,
in recent years, maybe the last maybe 15, 20 years. I think there's
yeah.
been some scholarship that has shed light on that it is a viable option, and people are like taking that up.
Yeah, this is starting to become like the topic of election for me, where it's like a train in my tracks, where it's like, whoa, where did this come from? What is it?
Mm-hmm.
Let me investigate. Your interviews have been obviously instrumental. Having conversations with my friend Oz has been
Yeah.
instrumental in learning more about the position. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just again for me, as we have more conversations, for some reason it's not sticking. You know what I mean? And
Yeah. Not
you
fair.
have, I will say, you have me beat as far as history goes, because I haven't read people in the past,
Well, and
so I don't know the
yeah.
history.
And that's no knock on you. I mean, you've said what you've been in Reformed circles for like 4 years. I mean,
Almost 3 years, yeah, almost
yeah.
3.
I mean, my goodness. Look, like, don't. That's not. None of this is meant as a knock at all, because the reality is I could have somebody else come and make me look like a complete ignoramus about the history of all this too. You know what I mean? Like, there's
Yeah,
just
like a church
levels.
history professor. Yeah,
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 like, there's
yeah.
just
Like,
levels to this stuff, right? Like, you
right.
think you're good when you get on the basketball court, and then here comes an NBA player, and you're like, okay, I'll sit down
Yeah.
then. Right?
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, that's how all
Yeah.
this is. So I have done some reading in this area, and I'm just trying to say it in a way that everybody should investigate this, because it is interesting, and it does highlight some of the nuances that I think are often lost in Calvinism today. I think a lot of these are lost.
Austin, I'm a proponent for people studying
Mhm.
and coming to their own conclusions. I
Mhm.
think it's good that we have great intelligent men and confessions, but
Yes.
like when I became reformed and God was working in my life,
Yeah.
I didn't push that on my family. Like, it was only a couple months later that my wife started to catch on.
Hmm.
She saw something that was happening that she had not
Mhm.
seen before in my life, and she started reading the Bible too. She just started
Mm.
reading the Bible, and it just so happened that we came to the same similar conclusions. Obviously, she's a stay-at-home mom, homeschooling and things like that.
Well,
So
good for
she,
her.
oh yeah. She
That's great.
rocks it. She's amazing.
Yeah, it's
And
great.
and obviously she doesn't have the time as I do to study and hear messages and stuff, but she through studying of her own, she got to, and then we were having conversations, obviously, but I
Mhm.
always liked people to come to their own conclusion, present, look, these are the different views.
Mhm.
Here are some of the arguments for the views.
Mhm.
Go to the scriptures and pray to the Lord,
Mhm. Yep.
And
Yep.
oh, really quickly before I have just a couple more questions, really quickly.
Yeah.
I forgot my
Yeah.
wife.
Please.
I forgot. Everyone in the audience, I just a couple things. So first of all, we're close to 300 subscribers, which is a big deal to me. So
Wow.
if you, yeah, pretty close. So if this is your first time coming on the channel, please subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate that. And secondly, my wife and I have a business, a ministry. It's called A Biblical Home. And you can go to abiblicalhome.org, where we sell non-toxic biblical products that have that you can customize. They have like biblical passages on them, laundry detergent, candles. We also make T-shirts and things like that. So go check it out, abiblicalhome.org. All right. Thank
I
you for
thought
your.
at first I thought you were going to say we make non-toxic Bibles because you said non-toxic. You started with the verb be. So I was like non-toxic Bible. Oh, okay, not that. Okay.
Yeah, that's next, Austin. You ruined the surprise. That's next. So can I ask you if it's
Yeah.
okay for you to share?
Yeah. Please.
Have you been doing any prepping or anything for the debate, or because
Yeah.
you wrote a book on this already?
Right.
Do you feel like no, you're pretty prepared, pretty ready to go?
Um. Obviously, I've been thinking about this off and on pretty seriously for about 20 years, and that's what led to writing the book. Um,
Right,
but I mean, I will admit that I've been going full prep camp. Like if I love the UFC, and fighters have like a fight camp about 8 weeks before the big fight, and so I have. Yes, I've been doing a lot of reading. I've been listening to as many debates as I can get my hand. I think I've listened to like if you type in limited atonement debate or definite atonement or extended atonement, anything that comes up, I think I've listened to. So, um, I respect you so much. I really love your spirit, and the last thing I would want this debate to be would be anything that's like ad hominem or
right,
against you. So I just want to say that I am coming. I'm going to present, I think, some powerful arguments, and I'm going to try to present some fresh things. So for people who've read the book, I'm going to take a couple new angles on things. But all that being said, I am pushing against a position and not you. Okay, I want
right.
you
Of
to know
course.
that I respect you, and even if at the end of your life you don't agree with my view, God bless you, and I really mean that. Like this is not this is not that big of a deal. So
Right, right. Going back to what I said about, you know, dreaming about debating.
mhm,
Like I said, a reformed person was not in my view. You were not in my view.
right,
So to me, this is a debate about, okay, here's what I believe the Bible said. Here's some
right,
arguments against this position, not
yeah,
against Austin, but for what I see from
yeah,
this position.
yeah,
So this is not like, the type of debate I was looking for, because
right,
there are some
yeah,
people on my mind, and there are some subjects that I would definitely love to debate,
mm,
and with a little bit more uh fervor, if that's, if I can use that word,
sure, uh-huh,
strong. But this debate to me is more like, okay, here are two reformed brothers who read the Bible and come to just a little bit of a difference in conclusions, and we're
mhm,
just going to present our case and present
mhm,
arguments for our case, and cross-examine one another, see
mhm,
where the loophole, not the loopholes, but where the little cracks are in our arguments, in our position, you know what I mean?
right,
And so that's how I view, and this is why I wanted to do this, because I didn't want to come in and be like, oh, who's this Austin guy, and I'm
mhm.
just debating him a cold turkey, but like, um you don't have there's nothing on YouTube where you see me, someone interviewing me, so you don't know much about me. So I feel like I may have a little bit of an upper
Yeah,
hand because
it's funny
yeah.
because I was actually going to say that. Like, well, on the one hand, you know a lot, you can anticipate a lot of the directions I'm going to go.
Yes,
So that's
correct.
good.
That's good. Yeah.
But maybe I've been thinking about this longer, and so but maybe that offsets the fact that I don't know where you're going to go. I
Well,
mean,
so
I have a good idea, I think, probably, because there's certain just familiar arguments, but you might have something fresh. Who knows?
yeah, so that's true. I have seen your interviews. I know some of the things that you object, and I know, some of your strong convictions is
Yeah.
primarily being the gospel and the offer. I get that. Um but on the other end, I think that you also have an upper hand because you do know my position very well. You've studied it, and obviously enough, and you know it, even though you don't agree with it, you know it enough. So I think that kind of balances out. You may not have, an interview where I'm talking about, my view on the position, but you basically know, some of the strongest arguments there are out there
Yeah.
for limited atonement. And so
There's a
yeah, in my yeah,
couple.
go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. So I see your wife is asking, did you see in the chat? Basically, can you explain that a little further? Like, what is the debate about? And can you explain the difference? I'm a tad lost as a laywoman. And then Protestant perspective, yeah, maybe Austin can explain the Reformed universal satisfaction. I mean, care
Yeah.
if we just talk about that just a little bit?
Yes, go ahead. You want to present your position?
Well, yeah, and in terms of so the simplest way to describe this debate, and please at any point tell me if you think something is off, or if you would like to sharpen something. But the simplest way I can describe this is, if somebody just asks, well, who did Jesus die for? Like, for whose sins did Jesus suffer? Okay, like, for whose sins did Jesus suffer? There's really only two answers to that question. It's either all men or some men, right? It's either all men or some men. I'm going to be defending the view that that he suffered for the sins of all men. And Ricardo is going to be defending the position that some men, and not just like this generic, the elect. Christ suffered for the sins of the elect alone. And so that's the simplest way I think you can frame the debate. And in terms of, what is explain the Reformed universal satisfaction position, yeah, it's going to be holding, Ricardo and I are going to be holding election, the depths of human sin, uh, God's ability to overcome unbelief. Sometimes that's called irresistible grace. But let's just say, can God overcome man's blindness? Can God overcome man's unbelief? He and I are going to go, yes, God is able to do that. And yes, God does do that. Apostle Paul is a great example. I mean, God can literally knock somebody down, blind them, and call, you are my chosen instrument.
Right, right.
And then, so all these different things. So the difference here, and it would be a point that I would in some sense share with Arminians, and Oz would too. Like, Arminians and those in our position would answer the question, did Christ suffer for the sins of all men? We would both say yes. But here's the difference between my view and an Arminian. Okay. So just to be clear, the difference between Ricardo and I is that he says Christ only suffered for the sins of some men. I say all men. Okay. Now, in my camp, those who say all men, you have Arminians, broadly speaking. There's other groups too, but Lutherans and yada yada. I'll just use it for catchphrase. So the Arminians say all men. I say all men. So what's the difference between us? Here's the difference, stated as simply as I can possibly
This
put
is
it.
very important, guys. Pay attention to this difference.
Okay, this difference right here is very important. Did Christ die equally, with the same equal intent to save all people? Arminians answer yes. In other words, it's an equal intent to save all people, flat out. And the dividing line is like a libertarian kind of freedom of the will. Those in my camp would say, did Christ die with an equal intent? And I would say, no, it was an unequal intent. There is a provision. Christ died for all to set a provision for all men. But also God has a special love for his people, and he will overcome their unbelief. He will bring them to faith. He will keep them in the faith, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the difference. It's not an equal intent, but it's an unequal intent. He has, how would you put it? I'm just using street language here, so theologians don't get mad, but he does something he does an extra something for the elect. Like he's more intentional, or really wants to grab them by the lapels and bring them in. That's forgive the really street language, but that conveys the idea. What do you think, Dakota?
No, yeah, that's really good. And that's the key right there that people need to understand. And that's why I think this position, it's a very difficult one to pinpoint where to attack. Because like you said, you agree that Christ's atonement is universal for all men. Mm-hmm. And yet at the same time, it has an extra intent efficacy for the elect.
Right. Sufficient for all, sufficient for the elect.
So you agree with me that he died for the elect.
No, absolutely.
But you would also agree with someone who's not Reformed, who says he also died for all men, but you would say, but not in the same way. And that right there is the tricky part.
Well, that's right. That's where, and this is where I would encourage, Reformed doc or different people who are going, no way. Well, that's what's going to be great about this debate, because you and I are going to be looking at texts and debating texts, and we're going to be debating ideas that, the listeners can judge who they think has the better arguments. Is there something in the atonement where Christ truly did suffer for all people, or only for the elect? That is the nub of this debate. It's not election. It's not depravity. It's not these kinds of things. You and I would, I'm sure, read through Dort and go, hey, I like that. Or we'd read through Westminster and we go, hey. Or if you're Reformed, the London Baptist, you'd be like, hey, you know what I mean? Like it's.
Yeah. No, certainly. And that distinction is crucial. And I understand why. And let me ask you this. Do you think that, I heard you say that you're a big proponent for biblical theology?
I love biblical theology. G.K. Beale is one of my favorite theologians.
Love J.K. Beale. Love him. Okay. Love him. So would you say that part of how can I phrase this? So I think part of the reason that someone may get to like a, universal position is because of biblical theology. I think but someone may get to the limited because of systematic theology.
Oh, that's kind of interesting. I mean,
what's your opinion on that? Because
I would say that the limited atonement position, it is more systematic in the sense that there's a certain system and logic to it. Right. But now would I say though that I get to my position more through biblical theology? I don't know that I would say that, actually.
Well, the reason I bring this up is because of this. So I consider myself, so I love all, exegetical theology, biblical theology, systematic. I love it all. Yeah. But I really do consider myself a systematic theologian. In other words, I like to see the big picture. Yeah. I like to see how does the entire Bible from Genesis to Revelation view the atonement, view election, view, that's how I am. Yes. And I think, I can't remember who said it, but somebody said you get good systematic theology from good biblical theology, and you get good biblical theology from good exegetical theology.
I like that. Yeah.
It's a building block. Somebody, I can't remember who said that. It's not my own, but somebody said that. And so to me, I'm always looking, okay, I understand there's this passage, there's this text, right, that says this thing, right? Okay, and so let's exegete this. What does it say? But then how does it, and this is my favorite part, now how do we fit this within the whole scheme of
That's right. Right.
And we have to do that. And this is one thing I want to point out, I think, in the debate is there are passages that on the face value, I think you would agree with me here. Like if you just read it at face value, you would say, okay, I understand what it's saying. But now harmonize that with the rest of the Bible and it would cause some problems. So I think, So I think of like, uh, Jesus, some of the famous Jesus quotes, where people are like, huh, you see, he didn't know the day and the hour,
Right. Or
or
the Father is greater than I. Like,
the Father's greater than I, right?
right. Well, what do
Take
you
that
mean?
take that at face value,
Right.
exegete it.
Right.
Okay, Jesus seems to be saying something about, the Father and himself and position.
That's
But
right.
then like go outside of that passage now. How does that harmonize?
That's right.
We make distinctions. So that's something that I see
Mhm.
with the atonement, especially the universal passages as well, which I know we're going to get into in the debate. I know you're going to bring up. And the reason I talked about systematic biblical theology is because I've heard people say limited atonement, those who hold to limited atonement
Mhm.
have horrible exegesis or biblical theology when
Mhm.
it comes to the universal passages, like John 3:16. It's a 2 Timothy 1:4. Is it no 1 Timothy
4:10, yeah, and yeah,
4:10? Yeah, 4.
yeah,
2 Peter 2:1 or
yeah.
2:2 or 1:2.
Yep.
Um, and so I do agree that in the past, in order to hold a position, people have done bad exegesis
Oh,
of
yeah, on all
these
sides. Yeah,
passages. Yeah,
that's
yeah, of these
that's
passages.
fair to say.
And so holding these tensions, it's the
Yeah.
problem. And part of what and I'm gonna admit this, okay,
Mhm.
my friend Oz, I think, is to admit this, but because he said to me one time, I don't see a tension. I see the tension, but he doesn't see it.
Mhm.
And I think you guys, one thing I think you guys do well is you hold that tension. That's why you guys are both, and you're like, yes, we see this and
Yeah.
we see this, and we want to affirm both.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I'm thinking, in my mind, the way I see it is, well, I think there's a way we can harmonize it. I think there
Mhm.
is a way, but that's just me.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. Mhm.
that's why I brought up the systematic and the biblical theology. I think they do have an effect on how we end up at a certain position. Do you agree
Oh,
with that?
yeah, I absolutely agree. Yeah, and yeah, obviously, hermeneutics, biblical studies is this spiraling thing where you always have to start somewhere, and then as you get more and more informed about something, you're going back over and just reconnecting it in this kind of endless spiral of reconnecting these ideas, right? And covenant theology is a beautiful thing in this respect. As someone who came out of dispensationalism, the disconnect between the Old Testament and the New Testament was just bewildering to me. But then once you start going, now wait a minute, in Genesis 3:15, there's this going to crush the head of the serpent, and you somehow get to this idea in Romans 16 where Paul can say to the Romans that they're going to crush Satan under their feet, and you go, how can that be? Well, you put these ideas together in this biblical theological stream that is just a beautiful thing. And you can do that with kingdom. You can do that with covenant. You can do that with temple. You can do that with clothing. You can do that with all these different things. The high priest, all these different things are concepts that unfold. So I think you're exactly right. We have any of these texts, individual texts that we're going to look to, are going to be couched in a larger theological story, in a framework, in a logic, a biblical logic that is going to make them glow with more meaning. And so, naturally, part of this debate will be who can present the better glowing story, right? The more biblically accurate one. Because obviously, person can I would say in many ways, like Owen's view is very logical. It's
Yeah.
it's very
I'm a
true.
logical person.
Right.
I think
It-
every
yeah.
time I have a conversation with Oz, I get stuck. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, I don't, it's not fitting. It's not, I don't, what? You're saying one thing, you're saying another. I don't, what?
Yeah.
I'm a very logical thinker.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know. This is how I am. So I agree with you. Nelson said, do y'all affirm that Jesus is Lord and Savior?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks for the
Yeah.
question. All right,
Yeah.
guys. If you have any questions for Austin or for me, anything about anything you've heard, I think he did a great job of breaking down basically our positions. To be honest, one of the things that I love about all this, Austin, is
Mm,
the ability to meet somebody new, a new brother in Christ,
mm. Yes.
Again, this was not what I was looking for, and it just kind of landed here, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take it, and I don't know what debate over 2819 is, but so I'm hoping that we'll definitely stay in touch even after the debate, and maybe
Yeah.
we can even do a tag team on election on something. Get two other
Right.
guys, two other
Right.
tag
Right.
team.
Right. Right. Yeah. So I guess we should tell people we're actually recording the debate on June
Yes,
8th, but I don't think it comes out until the
June 14th.
June 14th.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I think it's a week. I think yeah, he's gonna be editing, and
Yeah.
that's why I do lives. I mean, this is the first time my camera is it's acting up on me, but yeah, all that editing stuff, man. We
Yeah.
got 4 kids, wife, and all these other things. You know what I mean? Oh, my friend. Yes, Oz says join the Discord. He's right.
Hmm.
Let me see. Are you on Discord at all? Do you know what that is?
I do know what it is, and I have been on it, but I'm not currently really on it. No.
Okay, I would say yeah. Definitely you should join. We should get you the link.
Yeah. How about this?
However, yeah,
How about this? How about I bet there'd be a lot to talk about after the debate. So I would be willing to like join the Discord and field some further questions. But but maybe before then, because here's the thing: is I'm preparing, I'm writing, I want to
right.
really prepare for this debate, and I want to kind of hold my cards close. I think that's smart for every,
Yes.
you're a general and I'm a general in this war right now, and we don't want to.
Right. Show the cards. Right.
Display our tactics because, like I said, just I want to pique people's interest who are
Right.
watching this. I want to explore a couple areas that I think will be interesting and fresh, and I think
Yeah.
and so that'll be kind of fun to do that. So I guess that's my way of saying please tune in and watch. Lucas is doing us a great favor with Method Ministry, so check out his stuff. And
Yeah.
yeah, cheers to
Yeah.
him.
We've been announcing it on Twitter. Oz
Good.
has been reposting it,
Oh,
and
great.
we've been trying to get the word out. I think a lot of people are intrigued because it's like a reform person against a reform person,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I I joke with Lucas. I said, you're going to be sitting back with your coffee or your beer or whatever you're drinking and seeing these two go at it. And I saw a comment somewhere where someone said, you can tell they were anti Calvinist because they said or anti-reform Calvinist. They said this will be the first time that a Calvinist will win a debate.
Yeah, okay. I like it. That's good.
Yeah,
I
it was
like it.
funny.
That's
I
good.
laughed. That's hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so we've been promoting it. I really want people to come in, and at the end of the day, I want people, whatever they're convicted when they read the word, that's what I want them to hold to.
Yeah, sure.
I will defend my position and present it best as I can. But if people are led that that's not what the Bible teaches, great. And who knows? Maybe through the debate, maybe more conversations, I may change my mind. I don't know.
Well, and I guess I would say this too, and I would say this to you, myself, or anybody else listening. If you haven't thought about this issue much, one debate or one book should not change your mind. This is
I
something
agree. I
this
agree.
is something that you have to work through slowly. I mean, the biblical corpus is a vast, rich well, and it takes a lifetime to plumb its depths. And so this is just one drop in the ocean of your exploration is what our debate's going to be.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with you, and it's sorry, I forgot my mic. I
Yeah.
agree with you, and it's funny because yesterday on Twitter I posted a picture of my journal, my notebook where I'm writing notes,
Uh-huh.
and it had nothing on there. I said, "You want to know how my debate, my prep, my atonement?"
Oh, surely you have something prepared, right? Are you joking?
well,
Are you
well,
just being funny, or are you serious?
yeah, I was being funny. Like obviously,
Okay, okay.
yeah, I've been
I'm like, oh
studying.
no,
No, no,
Ricardo.
no. No, so I've been studying. I've been I'm constantly thinking about it. I'm constantly listening to atonement debates and things like that. So, I do have to cement it. I do have to
Yeah,
further
yeah,
cemented. But
sure. Yeah,
no,
yeah,
I've
yeah.
been thinking about this ever since he told me, and
Mm,
I've been, I mean, my Bible reading on the atonement has increased. I don't know that I would, you know, I don't know if I'd write a book about it, but I feel like I could at this point. I mean, I've
mm,
just been studying so much,
right.
so much. So yeah,
Mhm.
no, it was just a joke though, because
No, yeah,
there was nothing on there. It
yeah.
was like, this is how it's going. There's nothing on there. Uh, so yeah, all right. So I don't think anyone had any questions other than Oz question, and you answered that.
Yeah.
So is there anything else, Austin, you want to ask me or say, before we kind of wrap it up here?
Let me just look over here real
Sure,
quick.
sure.
Um, yeah, looks like no other. Oh, slowly but surely. Okay.
Hey, how did you I want to do that.
I don't know how I did that.
How did you do that?
I don't know.
Oh, you know what? You clicked on it. There you,
Oh,
yeah,
there
you
we
clicked.
go. Look at that. How cool. Okay. I did that by accident.
No, 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 reformed dog. He's not a provisionist. Thank the Lord. He's reformed. He's not a provisionist. He's reformed. He holds a little bit of a different atonement than
No,
me.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm not. No, I would fall just if he in case you missed it, Reform Doc. Let me just say this: in the Reform camp, you have people like Calvin, Edwards, Charles Hodge, Dabney, Baxter, Davenant, who hold my view, universal satisfaction. On the other camp, Ricardo's camp, you're going to have esteemed people like Owen, Turretin, many modern guys that you're going to recognize, like MacArthur, R.C. Sproul, James White, this kind of stuff. They hold to limited satisfaction. So that's the debate on the table. This is reformed on reformed violence, is what you're going to be getting.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. Um, he said, "She's y'all look like 7 year old taking." Hey, hey, calm it down there, sir. Calm it down there.
Yeah, all right, all right.
That's a
I
good
like,
laugh. That's a
I
good.
like it.
Let's let everyone laugh a little bit. Look at that. Look
Yeah,
at
yeah, yeah.
that.
That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
No,
So
I guess I don't. I guess I don't have. Yeah, I guess I don't. Nothing's jumping off at me right now, other than just to say I really do appreciate your heart. I appreciate your um, like if I have to debate someone, I love that I'm going into this not fighting, not battling against like a what's that guy's name, Matt Slick, someone like that. Have you ever seen any of Matt
yes,
Slick? Like,
yes, I
oh, I'm like,
have.
oh my
Yeah.
goodness, I like, I don't want that. Like that's, I don't think that's helpful for people, frankly. And I think you and I
Sure.
are going to have a good faith discussion, good faith debate, where we're really trying to be honest with the text and different ideas. And so I'm very much looking forward to it.
Yeah, yeah, me too. Like I said, it's my first debate, so this is gonna be interesting. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to start and anticipate and what questions and just like I said, it's my first one, so this will be an interesting one. And to be honest, now that I think about it, I'm glad that it's with you, someone who's reformed and someone who's very like kind and very fun, down to earth, before I get into those more heated ones with some other individuals that I have in mind and
Mhm,
some other camps I have I have in
mhm,
mind.
mhm.
So this would be really good for me to kind of get my feet wet in this debate,
Mhm.
thing. So all
Absolutely.
right, well, if anyone Reform Doc, oh, he says sounds good. I'm waiting to hear your verses. Yeah, Reform Doc is a great guy. He's on Twitter, YouTube. He's been following me and I follow him. He's been going through some health issues, but I believe he's getting supported by brothers from Twitter and things like that. So love you, Reform Doc. Thank you for being here. Thank you everybody for being here. Austin, you don't have a YouTube channel, right?
Well,
Or
here's what we could do. Do you have my link to the free PDF of my book? If
I
not,
have, when you emailed it to me. Yeah, I do. Yeah.
because if you wanted to put that in the chat, that way, if anybody wants to read the book for free as a PDF,
Let
you're
me
you're more
see.
than happy to go to my website and download it and read it, because I obviously I'm of the I shouldn't say obviously. I'm of the opinion that theology ought to be as free as possible. If somebody wants to buy a book, that's one thing, but if they need it for free, I make things available for free as a PDF. I would just ask that if you like the book, maybe leave a review on Amazon. That always helps. Oh, wait, we have a question from, looks like Miss Bernal.
Oh, let me say, thank you, man. Praying for you all. Thank you. Yes, we need it. We need your prayers. I mean, yeah, again, this is not like an Arminian or a provisionist. This is a good conversation. I think we're both gonna present some good stuff and
Oh,
let
man.
y'all.
How would you both approach your point of view to a Jehovah's Witness? Well, look,
Ooh.
if I can, let me answer first. I wouldn't, with the Jehovah's Witness, I wouldn't put this issue in the foreground at all. Right. Like they have far more serious issues, in terms of the deity of Christ, their view of salvation, right? Their strange eschatological views, like you're saying, of the 144,000. Right. I wouldn't, I mean, if they asked me what I believed, I would tell them, but I wouldn't thrust this forward at all with them because it's not important compared to what they need to work through.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah, I agree with you with that. I think this would be towards maybe the bottom end, or maybe to the middle bottom end, but definitely, I agree with you. Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can copy link. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna post it in the chat really quickly. 1 second.
Thank you. I appreciate you doing that. I can't do it myself because I would have to apparently, join the chat and then like link it up to my different things. I haven't done that yet, so it would take a little while.
So I just posted the link. You guys can go ahead and read it, but I would also say go and support Austin. I myself am writing things and trying to write a books with S plural, and it takes time. It takes
does.
time,
Hard
energy, hard work, and so although the link is there for the free PDF, please go Amazon or wherever you buy books. I'm sure it'll be there somewhere, especially Amazon. I know it's on Amazon.
Yeah.
So yeah, go purchase it. 144, I think she means in general. Yeah, I don't know. This topic, I don't think that atonement would come up on this. With Jehovah's Witness, with Jehovah's Witness, yeah.
You're right. I don't know how to pronounce your same name. Forgive me if I think it's Yvette. Yvette. Okay, Yvette. Yeah, I mean they have a really weird view of, I wouldn't even call it election in that sense. So they have such a different system. I mean, it's not, I don't even call it Christian. It's a cult, Jehovah's Witnesses. And so I would be wanting to just back up to really fundamental ideas of justification by faith and the deity of Christ and things like that. I'm going to want to take them to passages like John 1 or Hebrews chapter 1 and work through those kinds of things. Yvette.
Yeah. All right. Everything's good. Yeah, so I would say join. After, if you want to do it after the debate, about the Discord, if you want to,
send me, email me the link to the Discord or whatever.
Yeah.
And
I will say though, if you do join now, I will not be engaging with you in regards to the atonement.
Okay, well that's fine. Yeah,
because I mean, yeah. So there are a million other topics there. It's not just atonement. So
shoot me the link
please join.
if you don't mind.
Yeah, please join. But if we go into the tab for atonement, I will not be. I'm not being there.
Yeah, and we'll get close enough to the debate too that it's
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, there's nothing more. Thank you guys, for being here. This has been a great conversation with my new friend Austin Brown. You're in the East Coast, right? No, you're in Central.
I'm in Central, down here in Florida, Pensacola, Florida.
That's Central, Florida.
Yeah, I know. Believe it or not, it's Central. Where are you at? I guess I don't know.
I'm upstate in Maryland.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
Okay. We've been to Florida many times. A couple of times. Yeah. Okay. We actually went on a cruise and it went from Florida. I can't remember where we were, but it shipped out from Florida to
probably further south or some Miami or something. But
yes, yeah. Thank you, Oz. Oz says thank you, guys.
Oh yes, thank you.
Yeah, we're gonna have some fun, my friend, in that Discord.
Yeah.
Some
You-
fun.
Well, Mr. Escobar, I thank you sincerely for having me on, and I like the fact that we're adding humanity to our future clash of arms, and may the best argument win, right?
There you go. Yeah, man, best argument win. All right, guys. Like I said earlier, if you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. I'm gonna try to post the debate on my channel after it's uploaded. Um, hey, Reform Doc said I am from Florida, living in he's in Maryland. I had no idea. Oh,
Oh,
we
well,
may
there you
have to.
go. Yeah, you guys
Yeah,
get
we
to
may
grab
have to
some coffee.
connect. I had no idea.
Yeah, that's fun.
Okay,
Hmm.
that's funny.
Yeah.
Guys, subscribe. Austin, you don't have a channel, right? A
Nah,
YouTube channel? No.
nah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So go buy Austin's book. You can see the PDF. Go
Or
buy Austin's
yeah, or
book.
just get the PDF for free. You don't have to spend the money.
Oh yeah, or the PDF. But it's good to support one another. Yeah, and Austin, thank you so much for your time. I
Thank
know
you.
this took time from your
Oh,
family,
it's all good.
from preparation for debate,
Ah,
from
it's
other
all good, my
things.
brother.
So yeah, man, you got yeah. We'll stay in touch, and until next time, guys.
All right.
Oh, sorry. One last thing. One last thing.
Yes.
I forgot this. My wife will kill me.
No.
um, abiblicalhome.org. Guys, go there. We're launching podcasts where we touch on topics like marriage, children, homeschooling, and a bunch of other family oriented topics. We also sell great organic stuff, cheap, very very affordable prices. We're homeschoolers, so one home salary, one income salary, and so you can afford it. You can afford it. Go on there, and anything
I
you
know
like.
the feeling. My wife homeschooled our kids almost
Yeah,
all the way through.
all the way through. Yeah,
Almost all the way through. Yeah.
almost all. Yeah, a lot of people tend to towards the middle high school, right? They tend to.
Yeah, because it does get difficult
Yeah,
for a mother to cover all those topics at the level of expertise, in math and biology. It does get hard. So we one did dual enrollment at a community college and one went to a private Christian school. And so yeah, we've kind of done a little bit of everything.
yeah. We may have to borrow some knowledge from you, as because we're getting there. Our kids are
Yeah.
getting older, so
Yeah. It
we'll
gets
borrow
tricky.
some knowledge.
The
Yeah.
online stuff's really good. My daughter's doing online and homeschooling combined, and we really like that.
Yeah. All right. All right. Well, guys, thank you again so much, and you'll have a great night.
All right. God bless.
God bless you, brother.